And then the last one, which I would just add, which I just concoct myself, but we discussed it earlier, is to be sensitive to the beauty, to the, let me call it the contrast. If that was pattern and leading lines, this one I will call it contrast. What is contrast? Who can guess or explain what contrast means in this context? You see, the contrast is this. Contrast is opposite. Making things to contradict them, to go in opposite direction. You know? So, like, I have like a very good two examples of contrast. Now I'm using, there are two types of contrast for the Ogbologbos like Sheriff. There are two types of contrast. There is a brightness contrast or a light contrast, and then there is a color contrast. So let me just explain somebody's dress that doesn't have contrast. Somebody that is not contrasty, that if you read, the contrast is low, is you stand up. You see that from light perspective, from brightness perspective, he's dressed in a low contrast. He's dark in color, his cloth is dark, his cap is dark. So it's very low contrast. So there's no difference in the whole of his color. You understand? There is no difference. But somebody that is like very contrasty, please stand up. So it's contrasty. So you can see that I made good examples. Because he's wearing a white extreme, that's the peak of brightness, and he's dark in complexion on the other end of the spectrum. So that's a very contrasty image. So sometimes, thank you, please sit down. So sometimes you could take a picture and the colors will not be far apart. I think like her, she's not also very contrasty. Her clothes, if you turn everything to black and white, you won't see much difference. If you turn, because the green, the this, the that, everything is around one plane, one brightness plane. You get? Now, the other type of, so contrast can be nice when it's not too much. You need contrast to emphasize some things. If you have a dark table, put a white stuff in the middle. If you have this, put a this. That's why when we're designing this, we did a dark background and put the one Uma logo in the middle. And I think it's not so bad. It's contrasted, the logo popped out because there is contrast in the composition of the shot. So that's brightness contrast, or what they call luma contrast. That's brightness contrast. There could also be color contrast. Now you can appreciate what color contrast means. When the colors in the place are varying enough, you know, the colors are not modeled. You don't use a light blue with a light, you know, everything is not like light blue and then darker blue and this. But if you have light blue, like we're talking about contrast, yes, on Wednesday with respect to the face cap. Yes, when you have a yellow background, it's very easy to throw black or red on yellow and it will be very contrasty. They will pop out very well, you know. So in your framing of your shot, when you are trying to frame a shot, you could look that the contrast is too much, or there is no contrast in this shot. It's the colors are too similar, the brightness are too similar. So dark on a dark background, and there is no additional lighting. So for you to bring some contrast out, you might find a way to light the person different from the background to just make the person brighter than the background. You understand? Just to make sure the person pop out of the shot. So if I want to record you and it's a bright day, I know I don't have a big problem. Because the background will be light, you will be dark, it will be sharp. There will be contrast, sufficient contrast. Not extreme, because your camera might not be able to capture very light and very dark at the same time. So that is one very important thing, that contrast. Because what all this is trying to achieve is for your shot, for your frame to be beautiful, to communicate what you intend to communicate. And part of the communication is for your shot to be appealing, if I should see it, I should feel what you are trying to tell me, that the event went well. That's why somebody that is able to take good picture is balanced. If it's symmetrical, you can appreciate the symmetry. If there is a pattern, you can see the deliberateness in the pattern, and the shot will just be flowing. You'll be appreciating one thing or the other about how the person has framed the shot. And then the colors are balanced. That is, it's not just like blue, 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 blue. Sometimes light blue, white might fall well on light blue, and it just stay and be very nice. Is to be to match. To match might not necessarily mean they are the same color.
Just like one has orange and green.
Yeah, they match, but thank you. But there is a contrast. That extra orange pops out. There is a contrast there, and it makes it. So these are various things. If you know, as I'm trying to frame the shot, I'm checking like this person against a green background. Like maybe the two dresses that you guys are wearing, and we go downstairs, and I want to frame you. I'll be checking rather than just framing you anyhow. I'll be thinking, okay, like these trees now, if the leaves are low enough, if I frame you guys are against the green leaves, it might not be contrasty enough. You might disappear into the green environment. So I might want to find something else, maybe something bluish, maybe like the car. I might say, okay, rather than put you in front of a tree, I might put you beside a car that is red, because I know your green would pop out. There'll be a color contrast there. So that's just the point. So it's now one's ability to use all these things to achieve a professional shot, a shot that is appealing, that feels the way you want it to feel.